Hello, fans, and welcome to a special edition of Talking Ball, the Final Four featuring our beloved Duke. Nothing fancy from the old man here. No high tech. Scarf around as I always have. My Final Four hat, which we'll get to later in the broadcast. Duke jersey in the background. Coach K Academy in the right. We're there. There we go. All right, Coach K Academy. No high tech here. So I'm going to take you through Duke in the Final Four. There were a total of 17 appearances, not counting this Saturday's game against Houston. We don't know the outcome of that yet, but Jack and I will be together to preview our prediction today or tomorrow. And I think you know where I'm going on that one. In those 17 Final Four appearances, Duke lost in the Final Four 6 times. They lost in the finals 6 times. 6 more national championships. And then 5 national championships. So it was a great, great, great run by a great team. And especially, there's that period between 1986, when Coach K gets us to the finals, through 1994. And why do I seize on that? Because in 86 through 94, of those 9 years, 7 times out of 9 were in the Final Four. And you wonder why we became hated. I don't know. Maybe hated. Too strong. No, not too strong a word. I live with one of those people. Um, it's a thing. It's like hating the Yankees. Except this year, there have actually been articles about our current team saying, on to the Final Four and why it's hard to hate Duke. But we'll talk about that in our next show. All right. So, in the beginning, Coach Vic Bubas has 3 years, 63, 64, 66, where we reach in 63, reach the Final Four, lose to Loyola Chicago. 64, we reach the national title, lose to UCLA. And that year, we beat Michigan in the Final Four 91-80. There's no graphics flashing. I'm not reading off the prompter. This is old school. These are notes, That's how we used to do it. And then in 1966, Vic brings them back to the Final Four, and we lose to Kentucky 83-79. And UCLA, which had won the year before, had won in 64, was well on their way to winning the national championship. So we lose to Kentucky. Kentucky eventually loses to UCLA. In the Coach Foster era, Bill Foster, it was 1978 that Duke makes it to the championship game. In the semifinals, they beat Notre Dame 90-86, and then lose in the finals to Kentucky. And this year is important for me in a couple of ways. One, it's where I fall in love with Duke. The team features players like Gene Banks, who's just an incredible power forward. The G-Man, Mike Jaminski at center, and Jim Sparnacle at guard. But why was it so special? It was the year after I graduated from Washington University in St. Louis. My friends had me come back because the Final Four was in St. Louis in 1978. And we were in the Checker Dome. We had really good seats. And I guess that's the love affair that really, really bloomed for me. And that kind of, really don't like Kentucky started there. All right. Coach K comes in 1980, and it takes a couple of seasons. He didn't remember his first season. He was 17 and 13. It took a couple of years for him to get his groove going there. And thanks to the backcourt of Tommy Amaker, now the coach at Harvard, and Johnny Dawkins, it's 1986 that Coach K gets his first appearance in the Final Four. They lose to Louisville 72 to 69, 67, 69 against, all right, quick test here. Who would Louisville feature? Never Nervous Purvis Ellison and Milt Wagner. Both went on to play in the NBA. Our team had Tommy Amaker, Johnny Dawkins, broadcaster Jay Billis, Quinn Snyder, Danny Ferry. Just a great collection of Duke, a highlight reel of Duke former players. Coach K's first appearance in the Final Four. 1988, he gets back to the Final Four. Kansas beats Duke 66-59. Danny Ferry again, Quinn Snyder again. This game is kind of noted because it was the first time the NCAA said that if you were in the tournament scheduled to play on your home court in the early rounds, no good. So Duke and UNC were both 2 seeds, and the games are scheduled to be played at Chapel Hill. So what happens? UNC has to go out west, and Duke plays the first 2 rounds at Chapel Hill and wins at Chapel Hill. I'm sure that didn't do anything to diminish the rivalry between Duke and UNC. Kansas at that time featured Danny Manning. They go on and win the championship. 1989, we again lose in the Final Four, but not too shabby. 86, 88, 89, Final Four. We lose to Seton Hall 95-78. Danny Ferry, 34 points, 10 rebounds. Jack knows I love this year of the tournament because it was an incredible run by Michigan and Glenn Rice. 184 points in 6 games. Tournament, yes, was 6 rounds at that point. They beat Seton Hall in the championship 80-79. But Glenn Rice averages 30 points a game for 6 games. Just an incredible run. My personal favorite until begrudgingly we get to UConn and Kemba Walker, but we'll save that for a little later. 1990. This is when Duke had Bobby Hurley, Lang, Christian Laettner, and freshman Grant Hill. We make it to the semifinals, and actually, in 1990, we make it all the way. In the semifinals, we beat Arkansas 97-83, and then make it to the finals where we play UNLV. And this was when the Runnin' Rebels were just running over everybody. And we get crushed by 30 points. For a long time, the largest margin of victory for a championship team in the finals. And we lose by 30, and it's against us. So it's not one of our favorite stats, but it's us. Duke in the Elite Eight, I will slip these in occasionally, beats UConn. Yes, my wife, her parents, UConn alumni, true Duke haters. 79-78 in overtime in the Elite Eight. That was probably the best part of that tournament, but getting crushed by UNLV was no fun. So the following year, in 1991, we make it to the semifinals, the Final Four, and we get to play UNLV again. We are heavy underdogs, and we win 79-77. Laettner, Hurley slamming the floor on defense, one of my favorite things to imitate in the years that I played basketball. Never see that much anymore, but it was a signature Bobby Hurley move. We beat UNLV and go on to beat Kansas for our first national championship. In 1992, we repeat. Grant Hill shoots us into the game. In the Final Four, we beat, first of all, let's go back. Final Four, we beat Indiana 81-78. Grant Hill shoots a three-pointer to tie the game at 70-70. This is an Indiana team that features Calbert Cheaney. And then we win the championship. We repeat by beating Michigan. Repeat. Now, as long as we're going back in history, UCLA won 10 out of 12 national championships. Yes, the field was smaller. And yes, they had two very special big men, Bill Walton, Lou Alcindor. For those of you who don't know, that's Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. So Duke wins its second national championship in 1992. 1994, Duke beats Florida 70-65 in the semis, and then lost in the title game 76-72 to Arkansas. Now, for those people in Arkansas, this was one heck of a team. This was known as 40 minutes of hell. They played defense for 40 minutes, full court press for 40 minutes. And if Duke had won the championship, Grant Hill would have won the championship 3 out of 4 years. This was his senior year. And little Scotty Thurman from Arkansas in the shot heard round Arkansas. They couldn't say round the world because we all know that happened when there was the great matchup between Duke and Kentucky 2 years earlier in 1992, the Elite Eight game, which is sometimes referred to as the greatest game in NCAA history, when Duke beats Kentucky. Felt good. 104-103 on that incredible pass from Grant Hill to Christian Laettner, who puts it in. They win the game in the last second. It was just great. It was wonderful. Special moment in Final Four history. All right. From 1994, it takes to 1999 to get back to the Final Four, and Duke beats Michigan State. Poor Tom Izzo. We beat him 68-62. Elton Brand, 18 points, 15 rebounds, and we lose in the title game to, yes, UConn. Rip Hamilton, 27 points. Trey Langdon, the Alaskan assassin, I'm sure you all remember Trey, had 25 points, but we did not win, and that was one of our crushing losses to UConn. In 2001, we beat Maryland in the semifinals, 95-84. I want to pause there for a minute because the Duke-Maryland rivalry during the year was great. We beat them in the ACC tourney, 84-82. But when we get to the matchup in the semifinals in the Final Four, Maryland goes up 39-17. Didn't think we had a chance. Halftime, we cut the lead to 49-38. 6:48 left to go. Jay Williams hits a three, 73-72. Duke closed out on a 23-12 run, and that was our third national championship. We went on to beat Arizona that year. 2004, 3 years later, we lose in the Final Four. Pains me to say it, but we lost to UConn 79-78. UConn team with Emeka Okafor, Ben Gordon. We had Luol Deng, 16 points, 12 rebounds. Chris Duhon, JJ Redick. We were winning. We were winning at halftime by 7 with 3 minutes and 28 seconds left. The game, Duke led by 8. But big men Sheldon Williams, Shavlik Randolph were in foul trouble and ultimately fouled out. UConn hit 6 straight shots. And despite the fact that they had 18 turnovers for the game, they shot 62% in the second half. And we lose in the Final Four to UConn. 2010. That's a championship year. That's number 4. Duke beats West Virginia in the Final Four, game which featured Coach Shires, 23 points. This team had Kyle Singler, Miles Plumlee. Singler was the most outstanding player for the tournament. And then we go on to beat Butler in the finals in what is somewhat controversial because it was so close, that game. And what Coach K did is, forget who was shooting the free throws. He has him miss the second one, thinking that we'd get the rebound. And instead it led to Butler having the last second shot that missed by inches. It was that close to not winning the championship that year. Okay, 2015. We're back in the Final Four. We beat Michigan State. Sorry, Tom Izzo. Kind of like Tom Izzo. We beat him by 20. Justice Winslow goes for 19 points, 9 rebounds. And that's a year in which Kentucky went 38-0. You may remember that year. Wisconsin beats Kentucky, setting up Duke and Kentucky in the finals. I had to go in another room. I was so nervous. My whole family made me go away. But that's the Grayson Allen freshman year when he had 16 points in the finals, 9 down the stretch, took over the game, gave us our 5th championship in 2015. And that takes us from 2015 to 2022, Coach K's last year. Boy, did we want to give Coach K a send-off. And, you know, us fans, wasn't me. I wasn't on the court. So in 2022, the last home game of the regular season, UNC at Duke, 60-something former players are there. Duke loses to UNC. It was a really sad moment. Coach K came out on the court, said we didn't get the job done. Everyone felt pretty bad. That's the Paolo Banchero, Mark Williams team. And then we get into the tournament. And they're trying their darndest to get to a championship to send Coach K out. And we get to the Final Four, and who do we face again? Our arch rival, UNC. And we lose that game. Now, Jack will always say, and I, of course, agree, a lot of phantom fouls on Mark Williams in that game when we didn't have him down the stretch. So we wind up losing to UNC in the Final Four. And that's the recap of Duke in the Final Four. 17 times. And the upcoming game will be the 18th. Duke versus Houston, 8:49. It's going to be another late one, but we're going to be happy. Said it all year long. We're cutting down nets. More on this when Jack and I are together on Talking Ball. Please remember to subscribe. It helps us grow. Share it with a friend. Like this video if you get a chance to watch it. Hope you enjoyed a little walk down memory lane. This is JD for Talking Ball. Thanks.